It's that time of year again where people in America get really, really obsessed about football. And I don't mean the football that you kick with your foot. I'm talking about the football that you carry that's not rugby. I'm British. I really don't get Super Bowl, but there is one thing I do get about Super Bowl, and that's ads. And every year when the Super Bowl comes on in America, we sit down and we look at how EVs are portrayed in Super Bowl ads, because they are kind of the biggest event in the whole calendar for the advertising industry. And who better than to join me to talk about electric car ads but Matt Teske, founder of Chargeway. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to having another round of this, and this year's Super Bowl was pretty good when it comes to, oh my gosh, we have real EV advertising.
Right.
So
we've been doing this now, I think, for 3 years. This is maybe our third or fourth year. You run Chargeway, which helps people talk about electric fuel and helps demystify electric fuel for people who are new to electric vehicles. And you and I regularly have conversations off air about how advertising executives and how people at automakers don't always get how to advertise vehicles that are not powered by petrol or diesel. And I think this year's Super Bowl ads have shown us that for the most part, that is still a problem. So we're recording this via Zoom. You're recording your side of the call. I'm recording my side of the call. There is going to be timestamps in the video description if you just want to skip to particular ads. But let's hit the ground running. This is the first ad, I think, chronologically that happened in the Super Bowl. It's a Nissan ad. So Nissan, you know, 10 years ago was bringing the Leaf out. So this is going to be good, right?
Nice ride.
Want to give it a spin?
Coffee's enough excitement for me.
Come on.
So the thing that gets me at this point is that's the first time we see the Nissan Aria, which is the electric car. And then the gas car overtakes it.
Just zips by it,
Is that Eugene Levy?
And the whole purpose of this particular ad appears to be like, if you want to go from being boring like Eugene Levy and to become an action star, then you need to get behind the wheel of internal combustion engine sports car.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know. Then we realize it's it's an ad or a movie, and then they get in the Aria and drive away. What on earth? What on earth are they saying, Matt?
Well, I mean, realistically, this is a a Nissan brand chest thumping ad, and it's meant to align with people's I don't know, aspirations of feeling cool and not being lame, I guess. I don't know. I mean, but when it comes to EVs, this isn't like there's nothing in it that says EV at all. If you didn't know the Aria was an EV, you wouldn't even think about it.
No.
No, so there's no.
And I think people are more likely to watch that ad and go, "What was that really cool sounding engine coming out of that Nissan sports car?" I think maybe I'll go and have a look at that.
That's the thing of it, right? Is like EVs have a different sensory response than what we've known with average cars or typical gas cars. We've known them forever. So when you just kind of put it side by side, and then the visualization of it is, oh, you're getting passed by this loud, fast-looking thing. It's like, it doesn't really send the message of, we're really excited about this as a brand. So, and it's odd too, because Nissan, again, they were so ahead of the game compared to so many when it came to EVs. And right now, I think that they're still sort of in that weird spot of transitioning from, we did the Leaf and we sort of evolved the Leaf to, we got to have something new and, really competitive. And they're just not ready to really, again, like thump their chest about it. And that's what this ad was about. It was more about Nissan as a brand and less about EVs.
All right, let's look at this next one, because I think this one is brilliant. And this is a preview to a later ad. So let's watch it.
Zeus? Zeus? Zeus.
It's Zeus.
Whoa. Kind of like the Greek god of lightning?
It's exactly like that.
Stare.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay, so that's the teaser ad.
Well, I mean, it's Arnold as again, as he's gotten older, he's become more fun, you know, and he's done this type of stuff before, you know.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind having a laugh at himself, which is cool. You know, so as a teaser, if you see Arnold, most people are going to stop and pay attention.
Right.
So
Well, let's watch the full ad now, because then we'll see a little bit more, I think, why this particular ad was so amusing. It's a 1 minute.
My fellow gods, the dark skies have spoken.
It is time for Susan and I to retire.
But where will you go?
Palm Springs, of course.
Oh, thanks.
Sweetheart, it's not rocket science.
I mean, it's definitely mocking boomers, I think.
yeah.
Oh, and
I thought Peggy was cute.
I have to stop it
Yeah.
here. So for those who don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger actually has, I think, a miniature pony. And
He's had it on some of his videos. Like, it comes into his house with him. Yeah, and he'll be like feeding it. Yeah.
And I think that must have been an in-joke. To have
Maybe.
a miniature Pegasus is just...
Yeah, not like a regular one. Yeah.
Yo, Zeus! Ah, a little juice! That's it. I'm done with this place.
We'll see about that. Everything okay out there, baby?
Hey! Yeah.
Little Peggy, a little walk, huh?
I figure you could use a little pick-me-up.
All electric?
All electric.
Now I have to pause here, because it says, I don't know if you picked this up, but it says immortal professional driver on closed course. Do not attempt.
I didn't catch the immortal part. I'm amazed I got that through legal.
The BMW iX. Electricity in its ultimate form.
Electric Avenue. Then we take it higher.
Now, isn't that an interesting ad? And also, they've added the ultimate electric driving machine. They haven't changed that slogan for years.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's where they were able to play to their strengths as a brand. They were able to put the word electric into a brand, you know, tagline that people have known for a long time. And people do. BMWs are a driver's car. I mean, people that enjoy driving and performance, they like BMWs, and so I think that was a smart way to kind of have a play on that. Honestly, I will not lie. The moment they started playing Electric Avenue at the end of that spot, I immediately started laughing, and I was like, this just immediately just fell into the oldest cliche yet again, and so I was kind of like, well, that's not inventive or creative at all. But you know, did it get people talking? Yes, I'm sure it did. People like Arnold, people like Salma Hayek. The Peggy thing was cute. You know, who go walk Peggy? You know, I just think, you know, it's a good conversation starter, and that's what these are supposed to be. And so these brands that are coming out with these vehicles that are really much more mainstream, they've got to have these conversations. So,
and I think the other really interesting thing with that advert was that it was obvious that we're talking about an electric car. I mean, the tagline, the ultimate electric driving machine, the fact that we've got Zeus who's, you know, sending electricity everywhere. It was a very different kind of setup to what we saw for Nissan, which was, here's a really sporty, throaty car that you could transform your persona with. But he's also got an electric car he drives home from the movies with, the premiere with.
I don't see the Nissan ad as an EV ad at all.
No, I don't.
I just see it as a Nissan ad that says, hey, we've got cars. Whereas BMW just said, we are focused solely on the fact that this is our brand new electric SUV, and that was obvious. So one did a very widespread branded piece to show a lot of different things, to give some sort of like fun factor of like, you could be cool now with our brand. Whereas with BMW, it was very focused. And that's, I think, lends to getting the message across. So
talking about cliches, let's go look at Jason Bateman, shall we?
Caveman, you say?
We humans have come a long way on our journey. Our first language wasn't exactly, a language. Medium well, thank you. Our first vehicles weren't the fastest.
Can you,
Faster. Hey, boys, punch it! Our first maps weren't that accurate. And you know, fellas, the world is actually, you have a ball. Our first phones weren't smart. Text mom winky face emoji. Our first screens we couldn't touch.
Mom, Dad's feeling the TV.
I just love that line.
And the first electric vehicles weren't, let's just say,
they look nothing like the first ever Ioniq 5.
Now, here's the interesting thing, right? So first of all, they went to the first electric car, and that was who do we think they were poking?
Oh, it's a smart car.
It's a smart car. You think?
I mean, which wasn't the first, but it's one of the ones that looks just like that. It's a tiny little thing.
And
it's not terribly exciting.
You know, it's clearly meant to be the 1990s. I would argue, by the hair. But then here's the interesting thing: extremely limited.
Are you making fun of my hair? I haven't had a hair. Oh, Bateman's hair.
Yeah, extremely limited availability. In caps at the beginning of the disclaimer.
And bolded.
Bolded. Oh, come on.
Took on its debts and invited its entire family to come live with you. Nowadays, all you have to do is click the subscribe button. Right there. Click it. With this.
So what do we think of that? Was that funny on Hyundai's part, or was that kind of cringy?
No, I didn't think it was cringy at all. And frankly, the right persona and actor that you can get aligned with what your brand is doing is helpful. I think most people think Jason Bateman is successful. I think a lot of people think he's probably, approachable and entertaining and funny and likable. And so that helps. And then going through the whole historical motions of where we've been, it helps people kind of think about what industry people talk about a lot for how we evolve things, I guess, and it's cute and funny, but, the whole thing about the disclaimer stuff at the bottom, that's the thing is they're doing this to just use the platform of the Super Bowl to get attention for the fact that they're doing this, which is smart. But all the fine print legalese stuff of don't hold your breath about getting this because we have limited availability. I mean, people aren't reading that. They're just being entertained and informed. And I think this did a pretty good job of that for Hyundai. Mentioning bi-directional charging I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Because just kind of casually throwing it out there, it's like, an average person's gonna go, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I don't get it. But it introduces them to the idea of this concept, which all this is about just getting a conversation started. And I think that one did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I agree. So we've seen Arnold Schwarzenegger, we've seen Jason Bateman, but we've not seen any characters out of TV shows. But then Chevrolet came along with this one, which nobody really talked about, and it was kind of overshadowed by the other GM ad, which we'll come to in a second.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of this one, Matt. Let's watch it.
When this came up, my wife was like, "Did you change the channel?" I was like, "No, just wait."
I mean, Sopranos. I mean, I like the fact that they've got the whole coloring of this, the film grain. It looks like an old episode of Sopranos in terms of the storytelling.
It's virtually the same exact visuals from the original intro. It's a lot of it's the same.
Yeah.
So, except that part.
So we first see that for the first time, right? And this is all CGI'd.
Yep.
The first ever all-electric Chevy Silverado. A whole new truck for a whole new generation.
But it's the kids from the family, they've kind of grown up, right?
The thing that makes me laugh is if I go back here, this section here, this is some of the worst CGI I've seen from a mainstream automaker.
Well, they've only got one of these things, and it's probably a pusher. It may not be a driver yet. I don't know, but
they've definitely got more than one because I've seen a show truck while they've had other show trucks. Mm-hmm. That shot is fine, but then if you look at the next one,
the one where it's doing the 4-wheel turn into the that's pretty obviously computer generated.
This one is terrible.
Yeah,
you can tell by the focal length of this. From a camera perspective, the whole of the truck is in focus.
Mm-hmm.
But then immediately behind the truck is out of focus. And then if you look at the road is not in focus the same way that the truck is. And this is quite obviously
that right there, it's like, yeah, that's computer generated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the lighting is off, and it's like, it just feels like GM is not giving itself a fair whack there. And it just says,
fair whack, like it's the Sopranos.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, yeah, this ad, I didn't really hear a lot of people talking about it per se. Like on social media and whatnot, compared to others. It kind of didn't feel necessary, but it was very focused on Silverado EV because they want to get reservations up for it and promote it and get people talking about it. But it didn't seem necessary to do it because they also had it in the other commercial spot they did where they actually showed it, but it was less about the actual vehicle itself, right? So I don't know. I mean, it was a little bit, I guess, forgettable in that sense. It wasn't like really drawing you in, but frankly, it hits on something else that people, they will immediately hear the music, they'll immediately see the footage, and they'll go, God, I loved that show.
It was about nostalgia.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
About nostalgia more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think, interestingly, the way that this was played was, we know a lot about the family, the Soprano family, and you can say, oh, okay, if they're going electric, maybe I can go electric too.
Oh, no, if anybody who watched the show, like, again, my wife immediately, she goes, oh, she's like, oh, the kids are growing up. It's about what they're doing now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, so that's a way to say, like, we're still here. We've got some heritage, but we're kind of evolving a bit, and we're growing up a bit or something. So, yeah.
All right, let's look at the weirdest ad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's me. And since that day, electricity and I, we don't get along very well.
I could have been that guy.
Yeah.
I've got issues with electricity. But I also have bigger issues. Like saving time, money, and most importantly, doing my part for the environment. That's why it's time for me to move forward. Thanks to Wallbox, the safe and smart way to charge a car. Embrace electricity. Charge with Wallbox.
Okay, so that advert has no... I hate to say it, it feels like the budget ad agency came out to play on that.
I mean, again, the production quality was fine for being an advertisement. I mean, to be perfectly honest, the first, so let's be like, that full spot did not air during the Super Bowl. They aired a snippet of that full spot, right?
Yeah.
And the snippet, without the additional context, I had a lot of people that were like asking me, what was that ad even about? Because if you don't have the full context, then it's hard to get a sense for the storytelling. So that, I think, didn't probably play very well for them. But I would be perfectly honest with you, the entire ad in its entirety, the first time I saw it, I cringed. Because why on earth would you want to get people thinking about the idea of electricity being scary, or it could kill you, or you don't like it, or you don't want to be around it? I was like, Wallbox makes a great home charger. I mean, they really do. But as storytelling goes, for like saying, here we are to millions of people around the United States or beyond about, you should be talking about our product, I cannot put into like the nicest words I will try is to say that ad should have never been made. It was just not good.
It's why I said budget ad agency, because it's like, oh, we're going to do something with electric? What's electric, guys? Let's brainstorm on a whiteboard. And then they come out with all these things that are electric, and then somebody says, oh, wouldn't it be funny if this guy was struck by lightning, and then suddenly this electric car charger, which is really cool and safe and futuristic.
If that's where they got to, then that's fine. I will say, the thing that's interesting is you'll notice a difference between automaker ads. Like, they know how to tell stories about their brand in a way that they can go to the agencies they work with and say, we do have marketing professionals that have a vision for what we offer as a product and how we want our brand perceived. They do have ways about what they want to achieve. And the EV marketplace for home chargers and other things, that doesn't really exist yet. And this was meant to be humorous, but I think it just missed the mark completely. So
this next one, I don't think did. But apparently, of all the ads on the Super Bowl Sunday roster, this one got most people upset. And I just find that hilarious.
Upset? What?
People got really upset on Twitter, apparently, about this ad because they felt that Tesla was being mocked.
Oh gosh, whatever.
Here we go.
In a world. Oh,
exactly. The no conquering Mars, yeah.
No greenwashing, okay.
I'm sorry, that, as far as I'm concerned, was the best Super Bowl EV ad in terms of advertising the car. And I think they did a really good job of it because they focused on, they focused on what do you want in a car ad? You want to see the car.
Yeah, they showed the car at the end. I mean, they showed a lot of really hyper detailed shots of the quality of the build, I guess you could say. I'll be honest, like, as ads go, there's a lot of people inside the industry that I thought were like, whoa, that was like interesting because they took jabs at Volkswagen, they took jabs at Tesla, they brought up Greta Thunberg. Oh my gosh, I mean, but you have to be in the know to know those things.
Yeah.
So the people that got upset by the whole no conquering Mars and whatever, it's like, okay, yeah, you're a Tesla fan or you're in the bubble of EVs and that maybe bothered you. I don't know. Most average consumers that were watching the Super Bowl watched all those things blast across the screen. None of them had any understanding of what it meant. They're like, why'd they bring up Mars? Like, who cares? Like, what is this? Oh, it's a car. So honestly, in that sense, I don't really... It got more of the industry talking than I think average people talking, if that makes sense.
I think it was the one that most accurately advertised an electric vehicle, but probably not one that got people excited about getting into EVs. So maybe it was one for people who really knew.
It said electric at the end, but I don't think if a lot of people were not fully paying attention, they may not even fully caught it. So it may have just been just a car ad, and it really didn't scream electric to them, right?
And it was funny because I noticed that Ford did not put an advert in Super Bowl, as far as I'm aware. Ford has been heavily advertising during the Olympics, and Ford took a similar dig against Tesla and specifically Elon Musk in one of its recent ads that features the F-150 Lightning and the Ford Mustang Mach-E about this is what the future means to Ford as a brand. And I think that Ford's slight of Tesla was far more brutal than Polestar gave.
That wasn't even an insult. I mean, honestly.
Right, exactly.
I mean, anybody who's a Tesla fan that was bothered by that's because they're a Tesla fan. But the vast majority of people don't even understand what the context was for what Polestar was putting up with those tag words. They just didn't get it. So.
All right, let's look at our penultimate ad. I felt so old when this music started playing.
You're like, I love this song.
Oh, I remember this. I really didn't think that this ad would work, but it's grown on me.
Oh, I can't go wrong with puppies, even if they're robotic.
Yeah.
Boom.
That butt wiggle is just the best. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but that was dealing with range anxiety in an advert in a very almost subversive way.
Well, it was. See, what's funny is the first thing that crossed my mind was not range anxiety, because again, average people, they may not have immediately jumped to that. I think what I got out of that, I'll be honest, of all the EV commercials that came out during the Super Bowl, this was the one that I felt was the best. And I think what they did a very good job of was just like putting together a story that was just cute, that average people might watch and go, what's this little robotic dog going to do? And he's really cute and fun to watch. What's going on?
Yeah.
Why is he chasing that car? And then he, like, it's pure passion. He goes, I gotta get there. And then all of a sudden it's like, goes to black. And then the next thing you see is this very soft touch way of explaining, like, oh, I just went from charging my car to discharging my car to bring this little puppy back to life. And now this little puppy has, maybe his owner for the future, and he gets to live with this electric car. So that's such a high level, cute way of talking about all these things that get people emotionally bought into saying, that was just fun. And it was.
And it appeals to you in a way that doesn't say you're doing bad things right now.
Yep. I mean,
it appeals to the, you too could save a dog's life. Effectively.
What it really, because the whole bi-directional charging thing, I don't think most people they're not thinking about it right now. And the idea of it sounds compellingly neat-ish or something, but people don't think about fuel that way. They don't think about pulling fuel out of their gas cars. So there's a lot of education that has to happen there. So the soft touch approach to the idea, I think, is really smart. And I'm not lost on the irony that the actor in the commercial was also from Mad Men, which was a TV show about advertising.
Right, exactly.
Not that he worked for the firm in the show, though. So.
All right, so the final ad, and there's various different spots of this, and I wasn't going to go through every single variant because GM spent a huge amount of money on this. Which, first question, how much? I would love to know.
It was
I don't know.
$7 million for 30 seconds at this year's Super Bowl.
And GM, I think, has made 8 variants of this.
Well, whatever aired during the actual game, that's where those dollars were tied to. Production costs of making the spot, that's different. But
also to have a big cast and crew, and also to change its logo on Twitter. I don't know if you picked this up. From the GM logo
to the Dr. Evil.
To Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
So let's watch this. So the previous video, which we don't have, it starts off like a traditional GM focus group ad in which Dr. Evil is among the group.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is kind of the longer version.
Ladies and gentlemen, our takeover of General Motors is complete.
Dr. Evil, we can now use GM's Ultium platform to power our whole operation.
Now we can reduce tailpipe emissions.
I'm sorry, am I no longer Dr. Evil? I'm Dr. Good now? I didn't get the meme.
Climate change is arguably the #1 threat to the world now.
Dr. Evil, you are now the #2 threat to the world.
I refuse to be number two.
We have to help the planet.
Oh, please, cheer.
For my son.
Your son? I shall name him Baby Me.
No, his name is Kyle.
Oh! You must help save the world first.
Then you can take over that world. Okay, Frau, how about you let me do the business, all right? Hold on, I've got it. I will help save the world first, then take over the world.
She literally just said that.
Scott, you just don't get it, do you?
What? What don't I get?
You don't get it.
Oh, we're right back.
And you're never gonna get it.
You can't draw me into these little... You act like a child.
Here it is. You don't get
I
it.
am an adult. You can't push my buttons anymore.
Stop! Oh! We'll reduce our carbon footprint.
Whatever. Okay, let's go. We're going all electric.
Everybody in!
Not you, Scott. One day you're gonna run the company, Baby Me.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack about that video. I remember sending you a message last week and going, I can't believe GM just did that. That's very...
For those people they've been around the industry for a long time, they're just like, the irony is not lost on them. For like Dr. Evil is your spokesperson, like, the people that have been upset for a long time. I don't blame anybody for saying that. But average people, they just saw Mike Myers and Rob Lowe and Seth Green, and I can't recall the female the actress's name right now, but Frau, and that's nostalgia again.
Well, it's aimed at our generation as well. I think that's the important thing. So, it was 90-something when Austin Powers... I was in school when Austin Powers first
like 96 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. And obviously that nostalgia is big. We're seeing a lot of nostalgia, and if you want people to be nostalgic, and you also target them if they're the ones you want to be spending the money.
Yep.
And let's face it, the Gen Xers and millennials are the ones who are now starting to spend large amounts of money on cars when previously they couldn't afford one. So
they are the target audience. You could see
they are the target audience.
You could see that through the Super Bowl halftime show. It's just like, oh man, who's performing? So, and again, this is kind of typical playbook marketing advertising. It's like, how do you get someone to pay attention to something? Well, hey, show them something that is familiar, that they also find funny, that they like, and then tie what you're doing to that. Now, that could be a story that is generic but triggers a memory, or it could be something very specific like what we just saw. And, most people that I've read that responded positively to this spot were saying, like, I didn't really get much out of learning anything from this, but I at least went to the GM website because I thought maybe I'll find something out. These were people that aren't in the industry. Again, that's the thing is, people inside the industry world that we talk about this stuff daily, we make up such a tiny sliver of society. Everyone else is like, I just want to see if the Bengals are going to beat the Rams or vice versa.
Yep.
And
that is,
pass me a Bud Light, and and that's how they think. And so I think in that sense, this spot worked well for them. But I think in the end, there still has to be product that comes to market, right? And so I think that the 2024 Silverado is still a long way out, and so I think that will maybe get to a point where people. I went to the website and I got some information, but I ordered it, I reserved it or something, but I can't see it for 2 years. That seems like a long time. Whereas these other spots we saw, these cars are available today.
Yeah. I mean, Kia is the only company that didn't say, we'll sell you one honest.
Yeah.
Like everybody else was like, it's coming soon.
Well, in the fine print, again, average people, they saw the Ioniq 5 and went, that's a neat retro looking hot hatch maybe. That's cool,
Yeah.
The fine print never even crosses their radar. That's why it's the fine print. So
interestingly, Volkswagen was absent.
That actually surprised me a bit, but at the same time, because maybe there's I thought there might be an opportunity for like the ID Buzz and that if you want to talk nostalgia, there you go. But I mean, they've also they went a little bit heavier when ID4 came out, also leaning on nostalgia a bit. It's interesting. I mean, the simple terms of this is where are the dollars being spent? Who has those dollars? And yes, it is now Gen X and older millennials who they think back on times. I mean, look at the other commercials that we saw. Like one was for like Rocket Mortgage with a Barbie playhouse.
That was epic.
And she was like, this house is available. There's one down the street. And it's Castle Grayskull with He-Man.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
Anybody who's 40 to 50 years old or younger was kind of like.
And Skeletor as well, I think.
The bad neighbor, and he's like, I'm gonna throw some at your house or whatever. So this is humans are very simple creatures. I mean, we are, and when it comes to watching the big game of the year and having fun, that's what you're supposed to tailor your brand to. But again, if you read reviews from like NPR and others of like, did any of these really hit the mark and make people laugh? Not really. The one that seemed to do the best that was non-EV related was the Amazon one of Scarlett Johansson and Jared, is it Jost from SNL? They're now married, and that whole back and forth they had, people were like, that felt, and the word I kept reading was, that was relatable.
Yep.
Like, it was funny because I could see me doing that with my spouse. And so that's where EVs and this conversation they have to get to, and some of these spots we saw kind of did that. They kind of got to something fun and relatable and memorable. So
I think a lot of the ads this year felt out of place because we've been living in an out of place world. We've had COVID for the past 2.5 years, 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have kind of like, we don't want ads to show us people having fun and pretending that COVID doesn't exist.
Right.
We want ads that are a little bit gritty and relatable.
Or just honest.
And I think that's maybe where they're coming. Or nostalgia. And I think that's one of the reasons why nostalgia was so big this year, because it allowed companies to sell things without sidestepping global pandemic, potentially huge issues going on in Europe right now with Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
And so this escapism, this idea of going back, I mean, Dr. Evil, right? Everyone would rather have Dr. Evil than Vladimir Putin.
Well,
I mean,
it's fun. I mean, and I have this conversation a lot of times with people in the industry about just the idea of how do you position your messaging, right? Is that we inside of the EV world, and a lot of people who will watch, who are subscribers to your channel and people that pay attention to these details, we are very unique in how much content we take in every day related to EVs that most people simply don't. And we have to start bridging the gap to those everyday moments that most people are living in. Yeah. The nostalgia, but to your point about like, let's not beat people over the head with the fact that like life's great again. It's like, is it? I mean, are we back to normal? And so most of these spots didn't really key on that really, which I thought, to your point, I think that was smart. But I think a lot of people are hungry to feel like we're getting back to something that we used to know. But unfortunately, let's be candid. The reason why EVs are important is because of climate change, and they're not a perfect solution, but they're a part of the solution. Right. Yeah. And we're never going back to where we were. We are moving forward. And these brands all have to show how they are positioned to help people see how they are part of that story. But if they can tie it back to something that people remember or they are happy about, that's a good way to lead them into what the brand can do for them.
As opposed to Nissan, which was, let's have an advert for a car that nobody knows let's have an advert for a car that everybody knows, and by the way, we'll just throw in a reference to a vehicle that's not available yet.
Without even saying the phrase EV,
saying what
really.
It is.
Yeah, just being like, and so people in the know were like, oh my gosh, the Aria. Whereas average people were like, again, between sips of their Bud Light seltzer, going like, was that a SUV? That yellow thing's fast. Eugene Levy has long hair. Holy crap! I mean, like,
yeah, exactly.
But here Matt, we are talking about it all. That's the
Matt.
fun part.
It has been a pleasure. Thanks so much, and congratulations to Chargeway for getting CarPlay approval. Just tell me about that real quick.
Yeah, no, that again, part of the process we're working on all the time is talking to owners, talking to users of Chargeway to ask them, how can we give you what you need more. And the CarPlay integration was something we've been working on for a while. We've been doing a lot of testing for the last few months. So that was really exciting to, again, hand over to users and say, hey, download the update. You can put it to good use inside the car now. We're going to work on Android Auto for that implementation. And it just more progress to make this easy and accessible. So the ways that we can do that obviously are getting to be, moving faster because of what we're working on. But, still a lot of work left to do for Chargeway and making electric fuel easy.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Matt. Look after yourself, and hopefully we'll be doing this again this time next year.
I hope so. Thank you.
So there you have it. All of the EV ads from this year's Super Bowl. Thanks ever so much to Matt for joining us. And don't forget to check out the Chargeway app over at chargeway.net. If you haven't already, do make sure that you've subscribed and that you've hit the notification bell, both for this channel and for our other channel. And if you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And you can leave your thoughts below or in our free to join Discord chat room. Thanks on behalf of the entire TE crew. Go out to the folks on my right for being our $15 to $49 a month Patreon supporters. Special thanks to our $50 a month supporters. That's Chris Maxwell, Bennett Elder, Brian Newton, Jason Border, Dave Kitchen, Michael Goad, Ricky Leon, Andrew Martin, Guido Trahota, Brophy Wolf, Tesla in the Gong, Gordon C, Stephen O'Donoghue, Carl Hodgson, Anthony Coates, Ray Jean Fellows, Rory Litwin, Anonymous Freak, Jim Burness, and Denny Hyde. And our deepest gratitude to our $100 a month Patreon supporters. They are Marcel Ward, Reggie Watts, Joe Bresney, JP Fagerback, Will Graylian, Matthew Drobnak, John Lyons, Christopher Lee Jones, Laura Reynolds, Paul Conway, Ellery Hennesley, and Ian. If you are feeling left out, you will find links below for both Patreon and also for our YouTube membership. And you can also find links to Ko-fi, Bitcoin, and our cool swag store. And if you join as a Patreon supporter or a YouTube member through the end of February at $15 a month or higher, you'll gain access to an exclusive comic we're preparing explaining our often illogical love of our weird and wonderful electric cars, thanks to a very familiar looking Cupid there on my right. Thanks for joining me. And as always, keep evolving.